Hello everyone, Tom here. Today we're going to have a class that's focused on our hip rotational capacity. So external rotation and internal rotation of that hip. Two fundamental movements that are so important for not only just your hips, but your entire body's functionality. If you struggle with back pain, if you're tight throughout the day, it's probably due, or one of the factors is probably because of your lack of rotation in your hips. So to get started, we will always warm up the body with some controlled articular rotations. If you're not sure what those are, I'll go through them and I'll talk through them a little bit as well. We'll start with our cervical spine or our neck. You want to lock off your whole body and build tension throughout your body during all of these movements for the controlled articular rotations. The reason why we do that is so that we can really isolate and focus on that one joint in hand and minimize compensations elsewhere in the body. The reason why we want to minimize those compensations is so we can see a true representation of our joints and that particular joint we're focusing on, so that we know how it's moving. If we're just letting everything else get involved, we don't really know where the problems or where the tightness and stiffness can come from. So what we need to do is we lock off our whole body, stay nice and tight and build tension throughout our body. It's like, you know, almost like a little bit of a tight squeeze, 30 to 40% tension, and we're going to move our neck through its entire range of motion. We're going to start by tucking our chin, rotating to the left as far as we can, and then side bending a little bit and pushing our head back into extension, going all the way around to the other side, and then side bending a little bit to tuck our chin down. Just going to do a couple of reps like that. All this time we're trying to make a really big circle with our neck, and we're really trying to not let our shoulders move. We're trying not to let anything compensate whilst we move our neck. Just concentrate on your neck and that's it. Go nice and slow. Swap positions or switch positions, switch directions I mean. Keep that full body tension. Really concentrate on making a big circle with your neck. Fantastic. Well, obviously there's loads of these controlled articular rotations we can do for all of our body. I'm not going to go through every single one. It takes some time. We're just going to warm up the parts of our body that I think are specific to this class. Hips is going to come last, but next we're just going to do a little bit of T-spine. So what I want you to do, got something on my foot. What I want you to do, similar stance, but you can go a little bit wider if you want this time. The reason why we're going wider is because we want to lock off those hips. So if I quickly demonstrate the movement, if I'm moving my hips around like this, that means that I'm doing it incorrectly. You want to keep, imagine that pretty much hip down is frozen in a block of ice, and you want to flex forwards with your spine, rotate to the left whilst keeping your hips forward, squeezing the glutes, side bend into extend, so you're arching your back as we come round, and then we get to this point here where we feel kind of stuck. All you got to think of is my right elbow, I'm sort of driving it down to twist a little bit, and then I can pull myself down back into more flexion. Come back round for another rep. Staying tight in the body, just concentrating from my spine. Here, we'll reverse directions and go right. I'm just concentrating on my spine, that's all. I'm trying to like segmentally move from my spine to get it into as much of a sort of movement in all directions as possible. If it feels alien to you, that's fine. If you've never done it before, it's going to feel strange. And if you feel really tight and locked up, that's fine too. The more you do stuff like this, the more free your joints and your body will start to feel. Next then, we're going to do some side lying hip cars. So I want you to lie on your left hand side. I want you to put your left knee at 90 degrees, bring your right knee on top of it. Find a way to build tension in your upper body, so you can grab your fists together, or you can hold on to something, or you can push into the floor. And then with our top leg, so our right leg, we're going to lift our knee up into flexion, then out as high as we can, whilst trying not to compensate in the spine. We're going to internally rotate and push back. So the heel comes all the way back, so your glutes should feel quite engaged now. Then you're going to bring knee to knee. And then we're going to reverse that. So heel goes back, up. When you get to like a point where you feel like you're stuck, externally rotate that hip, come up into flexion and back down. So try not to compensate in that lower back, try not to move anywhere in your body apart from this right leg and its hip. So internally rotating that hip as we push that heel back, knee comes to knee, then we reverse, heel goes back and up, stay tight everywhere, externally rotate that hip and come down, knee to knee. So that's 2 reps. We're going to go for 2 reps on the other side. So swap over. Build tension, about 30 to 40% throughout the body. Knee comes up and out. Internally rotate as we go back. Knee to knee for the halfway point and reverse. Heel goes back and up. Externally rotating to come back into flexion and back down. 1 more rep. So when we do these reps, we imagine that we're going really slow, almost like we're moving through a really thick material, like honey. So you're trying to get the best out of every single millimeter of movement, and you're trying not to compensate. You're trying to force your hip into its outer ranges at all times. That's where you're going to feel, you know, your joint moving through its end range of motion, which is what we want. Okay, that's 2 reps done there. We'll do a little bit more hip stuff after we've warmed up the spine a little bit more. So I want you to go on your hands and knees. I just want you to watch me whilst I demonstrate and explain the first rep. I'm going to push myself into as much spinal flexion as possible. And then I'm going to basically imagine that I'm trying to move my spine from each vertebrae at a time, starting from my lower back. So from my lower back, I'm going to start curling it up into extension whilst I try and keep my mid back and upper back still. And I'm just imagining that I'm slowly moving 1 vertebrae at a time until I come into a max position of extension like this, and then I'm going to reverse from the lower back. So I'm going to tuck my lower back and my pelvis under, trying to keep the rest of my spine in extension. Going as slow as I possibly can until I come back to the start point of max flexion. This is going to feel really alien if you've never done it before, because a lot of people's spines are really locked up and tight, especially when you get to your top of your spine, your thoracic spine, and you try to extend it or you try to flex it by itself without moving everywhere else. It's going to feel impossible, but I want you to give it a go. So hands and knees, push everything into full flexion. And sorry guys, I should have said, and girls, I should have said, do not work through pain at any point. If you start to feel pinching or pain, uncomfort, just ease off a little bit, decrease that range and just go through a smaller range of motion. Okay, so we're in full flexion and start from the lower back. Curling up, keeping everything else tight until you feel you get to your mid back, and then you can start to extend in the mid back, upper back, all the way to lifting the head. Then we reverse. So tuck in that tailbone, come into the mid back, upper back and chin. 1 more rep. Nice and slow, really concentrating on the spine. Oh. If you've got someone close by you or you're doing this with a friend, take it in turns and get them to like tap their fingers all the way down your back. Last rep then starting from the lower back, tucking under, keeping that chin up high. Working from the low back first, then the mid back, then the upper back. Tucking the chin finally. Good. You can also try that as many different ways you want. You can reverse positions, you can go slow. The slower you go, the better. Really, really concentrating on that spine. Okay, last little bit of a hip warm up. Come back to lying on our left-hand side. We're just gonna do some capsular cars in the abducted position. So I want you to lay like this, build tension, lift that right leg up as high as you can, and then we are going to imagine that someone stuck a pole through our leg, so our thigh here can't move. And we're going to try to externally rotate our hip as much as we can for a few seconds, and then we're going to try to internally rotate our hip as much as we can for a few seconds. When you get to that end range, fight for more. So push those outer ranges. Try and, without this leg moving, try and imagine that you're pushing that hip into rotation as much as you can, externally and internally. We're going to go for 4 reps each side. Internally rotate and fight for more. Externally rotate and fight for more. Don't compensate elsewhere. Keep that leg where it is. Internally rotate and fight for more. Good. Same on the other side then. Build tension throughout the body so you can't compensate. Lock off everything. Lift that left leg now into abduction. Skewer down the leg so this stays still. Tight core and externally rotate. As much as you can. Fight for more. Internally rotate. As much as you can. Externally rotate. 3, 2, 1. Internally rotate. 3, 2, 1. Externally rotate as much as you've got. Keep fighting for more. And internal. Keep that leg high. Stay tight everywhere else. Externally rotate. 3, 2, 1. And internally rotate. Last one. 3, 2, 1. Good. Relax. Okay. That's just a little bit of a warm-up done. We'll get into the juicy parts then. So you may need some blocks or books or something to prop yourself up on. The first position we're going to get to is called 90-90 position. So we're going to work our right leg first. So you want your right leg forwards, left leg backwards. 90 degrees in the right leg and at the knee, 90-degree back leg at the knee. This doesn't have to be the perfect position. If you find it's a little bit easier to like bring your back leg in a little bit, you can do that. But the front leg, the leg that we're going to be working on, needs to be at 90 degrees. If you find that you lift off and you're just falling over, or this is really uncomfortable, that's where a block comes in. Sit on it with your front leg and try to even out those pelvis joints, pelvic bones, sorry. That's a little bit more comfortable, right? So for me, I don't need one, but again, you can add another one. If it's still uncomfortable, go up even higher. This is fine too. Now you can really sit up straight and feel a bit more comfortable. So find that position that's comfortable for you for the blocks. And our goal in these positions is to find a stretch, and the stretch we're looking for is external rotation of our front leg. So it's going to be underneath, all around this part of our leg. And to find that stretch, if you can't feel anything, I want you to imagine that you're tucking or pushing your bum back. So you're lifting your chest up in the air and you're trying to pull. It's like imagine you're trying to scoot your butt cheek back on the floor. And if you still can't feel anything by doing that, lean forwards a little bit until you find that stretch. For me, I've definitely found it. Throughout the entire movement that we're going to be doing for this and the exercises, when I ask you to do these contractions and these exercises, please always think about bum anteriorly tilting, pelvis anteriorly tilting, so you're bringing that spine arch in the back, lifting that chest and pushing your bum backwards the whole time. We're going to hold this stretch for about 2 minutes. Obviously, hands can go on the floor to create tension. They can go to support your body. You do not need to have your hands off the ground. What we're going to be doing now is an exercise called pails and rails, or progressive and regressive angular isometric contractions. We're basically working the progressive and the regressive tissue of our hip joint to try to force ourselves into and create more range and more strength at our end range of motion. The first one is called pails, and that's going to be progressive. So we're basically fighting against the movement that we're in, or the position that we're in. We're currently in external rotation. So external rotation is this. So internal rotation would be basically pushing the ground away. So if I was to come up and show you the internal rotation, it's that way, okay? So stay in that position. What you're going to imagine is you're pushing your ankle into a scale, and you're trying to make that scale weigh as much as possible, but don't lift your knee. So it's a little bit of pressure into the floor with your knee and a lot of pressure into the floor with your ankle. So you're going to force that until I tell you to stop. Don't go yet. Still explaining. Then the next thing is the rails contraction, which is regressive tissue. So that's going to be us trying to imagine that we are lifting that ankle off the ground, but because we're at our end range of motion, we're not going to be able to lift off. So if you're doing this and you're trying and you are lifting off the floor, that means you need to sink into a little bit of a deeper stretch. It's going to be about 15 to 20 seconds of an effort on each side. Right, when we do this exercise, I want you to gradually build up the pails, so the first exercise, like a volume dial, to your greatest and safest effort. It does not have to be super challenging on your first one. It should be hard. You should feel something and it should be uncomfortable, but it should never be painful. So I can work up to like max effort where I'm putting everything I've got into it. My whole body is tense. You can do it 30% tension, 40% tension. As long as you can feel something working, that's the goal here. Okay, so take a deep breath in, pack the air down in your body, stay nice and tight everywhere. Push the hands into the ground if you want, and I want you to slowly start to ramp up and push pressure with your ankle into the floor, imagining that we're internally rotating the hip. So you should feel some work on the outside of your right hip here. So push into that ground gradually up to your safest and greatest effort. And now we're going to hold this for about 15 seconds. Keep pushing and try not to release it. Try to keep working at your max effort for the whole 15 seconds. 10 seconds left. 5, 4, keep going. 2, 1. Now reverse. Imagine you're trying to lift your ankle off the mat to make that scale weigh as little as possible, whilst keeping your body, your upper body, in the same position as it is. Remember, arch the spine, stick that bum back, chest up nice and high. Lift that ankle off the mat as hard as you can. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. That's the first round done. Now you can try to sink a little bit deeper into that stretch. So you try and relax into this position, slow breaths in, and an even slower breath out. You should feel a stretch on your outer hip. Remember those positions. So even if you're on blocks, chest up nice and high, arching at the spine, so like sticking our bums back behind us to get that nice hip stretch. We're going to go for one more round on this side. So take a deep breath in. Full body tension, and start pushing into the ground, making that scale weigh nice and hard again, nice and heavy, internally rotating that hip, feeling our hip working. Shouldn't feel our knee, shouldn't feel our ankle, concentrate on our hip doing the work. max effort now. So your greatest and safest effort, pushing into that ground. Everything you've got. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and reverse, rails contraction. Imagining that we're externally rotating that hip, ankles coming off the ground. Focus on our hip here, working as hard as possible. Should feel it deep inside the hip. As much as we've got. Keep going, 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and release. Chest up nice and high, bum back, leaning forwards, finding that stretch. Deep breath in, even deeper breath out. Really good. Obviously, if this is your first time doing anything of this sort of training, it's gonna feel different, it's gonna feel new, it's gonna feel really hard. It might not even feel like you can feel what I'm telling you. That's totally normal. You just need to keep doing it because your body has probably never done it before. Next, what I want you to do is slowly lean over to one side. So your right forearm's gonna be on the ground. From here, I want you to see if you can lift off with your ankle. So that's externally rotating the hip. If you can't lift off, lay down even more until you can lift off. Okay, so find the position. I want you to just be able to lift off just a couple of inches. So for me, it's about here. We're gonna go for 10 reps of lift-offs. So take a deep breath in, pat the air down, and lift off for 1, and slowly come back down. Lift off for 2, slowly come back down. Off, slowly come back down. 4, down. 5, down. 6, keep everything still, just focusing on our right hip. 7, down. 8, down. 9, down. Last one, we're going to try and hold for 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, up. Keep going as high as you can. Imagine the floor is lava. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly release. Good stuff. A little spider on me. Awesome. Come out to that position. Shake it off a little bit. We're going to do exactly the same on the other side. Stay with me, grab some water if you need to. Find that same position that we've just had, but on the other side. Remember, one hip is definitely, more often than not, is going to be more flexible or more tight than the other side. So depending on what side you've just done, you may have just done your easy side, you may have just done your harder side. Hopefully you've just done your harder side. If you've forgotten to get that stretch, 90 degrees front leg, hopefully 90 degrees back leg, but if you need to move a little bit, that's fine. Add blocks if you need be. To know that you need to add blocks or not is if you just fall over when you let go. Spine, chest up nice and high, arching that lower back, sticking that bum back, pulling that glute away from the body, towards the floor, away backwards, and leaning forwards until you find that stretch in the glute. That's my stretch here. 2 minutes on the clock. Again, pails and rails then. Quite complex to sort of try and explain. Pails, we are pushing into the ground, ankle into the ground, making that scale weigh as much as we can here. Imagine there's a scale right underneath your foot and you're just trying to break that scale. Push into it as hard as you can, internally rotating that hip. But focus on the hip joint doing the work. Okay, so you're thinking about internally rotating that hip. That's the first one. Then rails. Sorry, for the first one, gradually build up that tension. So it's going to be like a slow push into the ground, gradually building up to your greatest and safest effort, not working through pain. Then externally rotate on the second one, the rails contraction. So my foot lifts off because you can sort of see I'm trying to lift off into external rotation. Nothing's going to happen again because we are at our end range. We're trying to work on end range strength and control. So that's the rails contraction. Imagine that we're externally rotating that hip. You should feel it deep in the hip joint for about 20 seconds. Then we're going to relax, go through 2 times. So a couple of deep breaths, get ourselves ready. Remember, lock off the body, stay tight everywhere, so we're just concentrating from the hip joint. We don't want to be moving around everywhere in the upper body. Always think, spine, chest nice and high, really elongate that spine, stick that bum back. Deep breath in. Build tension, and slowly push ankle into that scale. Ramp up to greatest and safest effort now. Keep pushing. Keep thinking anterior tilt in the pelvis, sticking that bum back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and reverse. Externally rotating that hip. Keep the upper body as still as we can. Trying to lift that ankle off the ground, make that scale weight as little as possible. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Try to sink a little bit deeper into that stretch if you can. If you can't and you're still feeling that really intense stretch, that's absolutely fine. Slow deep breath in through the nose. Even longer breath out. Try to relax in this not so relaxing position. Should be about 5 to 6 really slow breaths here. Okay, get yourselves ready. That second round comes quick. Take a deep breath in. Pack the air down, build tension. Start pushing into that scale. Internally rotating that hip. Imagine that we're pushing that ground away. Chest nice and high still, keeping the upper body tension so we don't move. And max effort should be about there now. Feel that burn in the deeper parts of the hip, outside of your hip. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse, lifting that ankle off the scale, externally rotating that hip. Upper body stays still, pushing that bum back. Everything you've got now, last round. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Sink a bit deeper if you want to. Really deep breath in. Longer breath out. Okay, we're going to come out and do the same little lift-offs and holds on this side. So again, just lean over. Try to find a position, whether that's laying right the way down, or whether you're like this. You might be up here. If I'm up here and I try and lift off, I can't, so I need to go a little bit lower. That's about right. So you want to just lift off a couple of inches. You want to make it difficult, but you don't want to make it too easy. Okay, however like if you've got blocks, you can hug them, you can squeeze them, whatever you can do to make the whole rest of your body still and tight and built with tension and in tension. Okay, take a deep breath in, pat the air down, 10 lift-offs, off we go. Externally rotate that hip, up and slowly down, up, slowly down, up, slowly down. 4, slowly down. 5, slowly down. 6, slow. 7, 8, tight everywhere, 9, last one, hold for 10 seconds, 3, 2, 1, up we go, floor is lava. Drive that ankle up as high as we possibly can, focusing on our hip. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slow down. Well done. I'm going to grab a quick bit of water, which is over here. Okay, hopefully you've grabbed some water. We are going to do a little bit of internal rotation now. So, same position, but this time we're going to be working on our back leg for internal rotation, okay? Again, if you need blocks, absolutely fine to set up exactly how you were before. What we're going to do is we try to find our end range of motion for our internal rotation of the back leg. So if I'm like out here and I'm leaning over and I try and internally rotate my hip, I can do it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to internally rotate my hip and try to keep it internally rotated as I come round to look like this, and that's my end range. To know that it's my end range, I try and lift off, and I can't, right? So you can use your hands to come back, whatever position you want. Your left leg can also come up like this if that's more comfortable. But as long as your back right leg is in a 90-degree position. And we're going to hold this stretch for 2 minutes. You really want to feel the stretch deep around this area here. If you can't feel anything, pull that body, that chest to the right, around more to face forwards. Okay, so for this, the pails and the rails element, see if you can guess it. The progressive side, the first one, is always fighting away from the movement. So if you think we are in we're working internal rotation here. So we want to imagine that we are externally rotating that hip. If the ground wasn't here, I'd be externally rotating like that. So again, it's pushing into the ground with my ankle. There's a scale underneath my ankle. I'm trying to make it weigh as much as possible. I'm almost pushing my knee in as well, just a little bit, but I'm going to feel everything here in my deep tissue of my hip. Then when I say reverse, rails, we are going to imagine that we are lifting our leg into internal rotation, our hip into internal rotation. But nothing's going to lift off because we are at our end range. So like that's all it's going to look like. This might feel really tough to even feel some sort of like effort. That's normal. What you can do, you can push your hand against that movement if you're struggling to feel something. If you're really struggling to feel anything at all, lean forwards a little bit, and if you end up lifting off a tiny bit, that's fine as long as you can feel it. So we're going to go for 2 rounds on this side. So I've got something there. It's annoying me. There we go. Right. Get in that position. Deep breath in. Pack that air down. Slowly start to ramp up that tension. Externally rotating the hip. Ankle into the ground. Building up to our max effort. No pain, just greatest and safest effort. Off we go. Keep making that scale weigh as much as you can. Don't let off. Feel it in the hip here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse, internally rotate as much as we can. Ankles making that scale weigh nothing at all. Oh. If you need to, push into your foot as a little bit of feedback. This is really tough to initiate, so don't worry if you can't feel much. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax there. Deep stretch. Try to sink around a bit deeper if you can. Couple of breaths. Okay, For this one, instead of doing a second round straight away, we're going to go for something a little bit different. We're going to do a few lift-offs, like so. So what I want you to do is I want you to lean forwards until you can feel that you can lift off. Once you're there, give you a couple of seconds to find it. We're going to go for 10 lift-offs. 3, 2, 1. Pack that air down everywhere, nice and tight, and lift off. Slowly down. 2, slowly down. 3, slowly down. 4, slowly down. 5, down, halfway. 6, down. 7, keep that upper body really still. 8, 9, last one, hold for 10 seconds. 3, 2, 1, up and hold. Floor is lava, do not let the ankle go down. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and slowly parachute down. Come back round, and we're gonna go straight into a pails and rails effort. So deep breath in, pack the air down, and drive into the ground, externally rotating that hip. So scales underneath the foot, weighing as much as possible. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, keep going. 4, 3, 2, 1, and internal rotate. Hopefully you'll feel a little bit more because we've just done those lift-offs. Keep the upper body still. As much as you've got, come on, last round. 5, 3, 2, 1, relax. Try to sink a little bit deeper. Last thing on this side then, we are just going to lift off, lean forwards. And what I want you to do, I'll demonstrate quickly, we're going to lift off and then we're going to try and hold it as much as we can, but we're going to bring our upper body round until our ankle touches the floor. So the whole time we're fighting up as much as we can off the floor, and the only thing that's going to make our ankle touch the floor is our upper body coming round to get ourselves back into that end range position. We're going to go for 3 reps like that. So 3, 2, pack the air down. 1, lift off, hold as high as you can, and slowly come back round with the upper body until it touches. Back to this point here, off, slowly come back round. Keep lifting as high as we can off the ground, keep lifting, keep lifting, keep lifting, and one more. Lift off, and slowly come back round. Keep lifting off the ground. There we go. Whew. Shake that off, really good. One more of that on this side, and then that's all of our pails and rails done for the day. So similar position, guys and girls, find that stretch this side on your left hip. Again, remember you'll have one side probably that is way more, or not way more, but definitely a little bit different. Find that stretch, big bus, and we are holding for 2 minutes. This side for me is way different. I just feel different. For me, I find it really hard to initiate the internal rotation. It fatigues a lot quicker. So remember, pails, slowly building up, internally driving that hip, externally rotating, driving that hip into the ground, making that scale weigh as much as we can. Then once we've slowly ramped up and we've built that tension, we're going to be holding it for 15 seconds. Then we reverse into the rails, where we are imagining that we are lifting that ankle, pushing our hip into as much internal rotation as we possibly can. Nothing's going to move. That's fine. That's what we want. If something is moving, then you're just not quite at your end range. Still going to work if that's what you want to do, but you're just not working at your end ranges. We're going to go for 1 round of that, straight into the lift-offs, then the holds, then 1 more round, and then into a bit of eccentric training. Doing really well so far. Hopefully you're enjoying it in a sick sort of way. Okay, let's go then. First round, take a deep breath in. Pack that air down and slowly start to ramp up. Drive into the ground, externally rotating that hip. Should feel it all around here. Should be at your greatest and safest effort now. Everything you've got, upper body still, full body tension. Driving, making that scale weigh as much as you can. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and reverse. Internally rotate. Keep going. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax, not reverse. Couple of deep breaths. Come forwards to a point where you can lift off, like so. It doesn't matter what position that is, you know, whatever's comfortable for you, as long as you can lift off a couple of inches. Get that deep breath. Oh, and also you can, whilst you're doing the movement, try and stay really still, but then once you go to the next one, if you want to move and like sort of just scan and try and find a better position, that's fine too. Deep breath in. 3, 2, 1. Lift off. Hold. Slowly down. 2. Down. 3. Down. 4. Down. 5. Down. 6. Down. 7. Down. 8. Down. 9. Down. Last one for 10 seconds. Hold on to whatever you can. We're in for a rough ride. 3, 2, 1. Lift up. 10, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Keep going. 3. Don't let that foot touch. 2, 1, and down. Couple of breaths straight into the second round. I know it's tough, but keep going. This type of training, you can put in as much or as little as you want. The more you put in, the better, as long as you're not working through pain. Okay, deep breath in. Chest up nice and tall, pack the air down, and start to ramp up. Foot pushing into the ground, making that scale weigh as much as you can. Keep ramping up, keep going to your greatest and safest effort now. Keep pushing last round. Everything we've got. From the hip. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And internal rotation. Imagine that scale weighs absolutely nothing. Your ankle is trying everything it can to lift off the ground. Keep going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Couple of breaths. Come forwards, and remember, we're going to do 3 of those reps where we're lifting off and then slowly bringing our body around until our ankle touches the ground again. First one, here we go. Full body tension, lift off, and bring that upper body around until the ankle touches. That's not much the other difference for me. So I'm going to lean a little bit more forwards. Second one, lift off, up, and come round as slowly as we can until that ankle touches. Keep lifting. Oh, one more. Lift off. Stay tight everywhere and slowly come round. Lift. Oh, so much harder on that side for me. Really good effort, everyone. Have a little bit of a shake off. That is the pales and rails element done. We've got a little bit to do in straddle. Okay, so I want you to sit like so. If you have a block, grab it. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. You can have your hands out like this. What I want us to do, we're just gonna hold this stretch for a little while. And I'm gonna hold my block like this to build tension without, to be fair, I don't wanna crush my mic, so I'm just gonna do this. But if you've got something that you can hug and squeeze onto, fantastic. What we're gonna do, I want you to imagine that if I turn to my right and I look towards my right foot, by the way, if this is like impossible, just bring your ankles in a little bit, and then it's gonna feel a little bit easier. If this is, again, too tough, sit on a block. That's gonna help you a little bit. Okay, demonstration. So what we're gonna do, I'm going to imagine, instead of just bringing my upper body forwards and to try and touch my toes, or to try and bring my chest to my knee, I'm going to imagine that I'm lifting my leg like this to bring my upper body forwards. That's really gonna start working all the tissue at the top of my quad and my hip flexors. Then I'm gonna, instead of just like relaxing and coming up, I'm going to push my heel into the ground, engaging my hamstring to push myself up. And we're gonna go to the other side. So I'm lifting my left leg as hard as I can to bring my upper body in, as far as I can go, and then I'm pushing my heel into the ground to lift myself up. We're just gonna go for 3 reps on each side. So again, this is where you can either work as hard as you possibly can and you're gonna be like crying and sweating at the end of it, or you can just kind of go through the motions. It's up to you. I'm always gonna say work as hard as you can, because you're here, you're doing something, you may as well put the effort in. But please don't work through pain. If you feel like you're going to cramp, which is very common, especially up here, that's totally normal. If you're a sicko, you can fight through it, and then you'll just cramp less and less the more you do. For most people, when you get your first one, there's nothing you can do apart from get out of that position, and everyone punches it. That can help. It helps me, it just kind of takes the pain away. But if you do cramp, remember it's totally normal. You haven't injured yourself. Okay, we're gonna go to the right leg first. So I'm just gonna bring like this for tension, twist a little bit, full body tension, and lift my leg up to bring my chest as close as I can. If I need to touch the floor, that's fine. And then drive that right heel, hamstring engaged, to come up. Swap sides, look to my left leg, lift my left leg, or imagine that I'm lifting my left leg as far as I can, and then drive my heel into the ground. Swap sides, lift, and push away. Swap sides, lift, and push away. One more rep on each side. Here we go, last one. Everything you've got. Lift. And push away. Slow, 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 slow. Last one, lift. And push away. Relax there, bring the legs in. A little bit of a shake off. Final thing we're gonna do, final thing of the clock, well, final thing before a little bit of a cool down. This is gonna be, everyone can try this, because the easiest version is you literally lying back as much as you can. You can lift your leg and do 10 second circles one way, 10 second circles the other way. The further forwards that you go, the harder it's gonna be. For me, I'm about here. Again, if you've just cramped in that other exercise, probably don't do this. It's gonna cramp even more. If you wanna humble yourself and see where you're at, let's go. So we're gonna lift up. You're gonna try and make a really small circle with both legs. Circle anti-clockwise or clockwise for 10 seconds, and then change directions, 10 seconds, class done. So find that position that's comfortable for you, whether you're leant right back, on blocks, or leant right forwards and you're crazy strong, like ballerina or something, that's fine. Get yourself set, deep breath in, full body tension, push into the ground, and lift up. 10 seconds one way. Keep that upper body still. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and change directions. Keep going. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well done. Have a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a stretch out of them hip flexors if you need to. Right, final thing we're going to do, we're just going to work on our external and internal rotation to see how it feels. You can do it lying down like we did at the start, or you can do it standing up. I'm just going to do it standing up to give you a little bit of a different move, different base position. Laying down is absolutely fine. So we're going to work our right leg first. Lift up and just try to externally rotate as much as you can, and then internally rotate as much as you can. Do you feel any difference from the first ones we did at the start of the class when we were lying down doing those capsular cars from the hip car position, from the side lying position? Just, you know, you should feel a little bit different. Your hips should feel warm. They should feel like you've gained a little bit more range. Try on the other side. So leg up, externally rotate as much as we can for a few seconds, internally rotate as much as we can for a few seconds. Lock off everything, so don't hike in the pelvis. Internal rotate, everything you've got. Fight for that range you've just worked so hard for. External rotate and internally rotate. Really good. Ladies, gents, thank you so much for tuning in. This is just a taster of what the classes are like in my premium community. I do classes on ankles, feet, knees, obviously hips we've done, spine, shoulders, elbows, wrists, neck, skill-specific classes where if you want to improve your deep squat, if you want to improve your handstand or your overhead positions, if you do CrossFit or anything like that. Loads of stuff coming, warm-ups, run routines. So if this class made you feel good, if you are an athlete or if you're just someone who wants to move better throughout the day, I'd really appreciate you checking out my premium membership. If not, enjoy the free community and the free value that's here. And please comment, let me know how you found it. Can't wait to see you again.